Hey everybody, Dave here. I hope you're having an awesome day. So this week's build is a little bit different. It's going to be a restoration of a 1950s Hubley truck. Now, I am not a restoration guy at all, nor do I want to be, but this is actually for a buddy of mine who has been just a really good friend, super giving of his time and his resources. And I think sometimes as an artist, we can give back in simple ways that are actually really meaningful to other people. So when he asked me if I could help him restore this thing, I think he was just thinking, can you just kind of repaint it? But I'm going to try and do a complete restoration and see how cool we can make it. So come on, let's try it. All right, here's what we got to work with. It is in pretty rough shape as far as the paint job goes. There's some pretty deep gouges on the roof there. On the other side, the front fender, you can see there's some pretty good gouges there. So I need to get the paint stripped off first. So I'm just using this paint stripper. I actually got this at Home Depot. It is a low toxic, so I was able to do it in my room, no problem. I lathered this stuff on pretty good. Here's a really lame time lapse. It didn't really do anything, but it actually came off really easy. It actually started working within about 5 minutes, but I did let it sit for about a half hour. Got this all cleaned up. It gets a little messy, rinse it off with some water, and here's kind of the end result of the paint taken off. I'm going to do a little bit of light sanding on this and see if I can't figure out how to get some of these scuffs out. As I'm working on this and sanding it, I noticed on the roof there was kind of this nub of metal, so probably from the original cast, so I went ahead and sanded that down pretty good. And then I've seen on YouTube some other people, they'll use super glue and baking soda, so I'm using super glue and some baking soda, and it actually acts kind of like a little Bondo, so that worked out pretty great. Now the tailgate was totally missing, and I thought I'm going to try and make one, so I actually took 4 pieces of polystyrene here, and that's about the thickness. I know I probably could have went and purchased a thicker piece of polystyrene, but I had this handy. I'm going to kind of measure out the shape that I want, and then I'm going to just super glue these 4 pieces together. So this should give me a pretty good accurate space to know where to cut this, trim it once I'm done. So got some cool little Jackson Pollock artwork here for you. No extra charge. Yeah, let's get that on nice and thick there, and I'll do this 4 more times. And once I got that, I'm going to start trimming this down. Now, normally polystyrene, you do 1 cut and it snaps, but make sure you have sharp blades. So I had to switch out my blade. I had an older blade there. But because I'm doing 4 layers here, it wasn't just score and snap, so I had to score quite a few times, but eventually I got through that, kind of hacked through the back and snapped it off. And it's actually pretty clean. I will take my Dremel and sand and round out the corners. I have my little pencil line, so I'm just following that, and that's working out pretty nice. Kind of just doing a little dry fit here, and then I had this polystyrene tubing, and I'm going to just slide that through there, and I think that's going to work great. I'm going to glue that on, and that should swivel pretty nice. I did want to add a little bit of detailing to the tailgate. The original one had some little ribs, and so I thought this just adds a little bit of a nice effect. So I just super glued those on, snip those off, and then I'll sand all that down so it'll be nice and clean. So the bed of the truck didn't need any masking, so I went ahead and primed this, and then I'm doing a light sanding with some wet sandpaper, and this just gives me a really nice smooth finish to paint. But the truck itself, I don't know how to pull off rivets and re-rivet stuff, so I had to go through and do this meticulous masking, which is a pain in the neck, but totally worth it, and it worked out great. So I got the front there, I got the little lever mechanism masked off, and again I'm going to do a little bit of wet sand, let that dry. And while this dries, after sanding, I went and painted the bed of the truck, and I used a Krylon red, and man, it just turned out great. The gloss level is perfect. So here's the tailgate. I spray painted this a silver metallic, and I'm just going to do a quick little dry fit here before I glue it all together, and just sliding the rod. That's the polystyrene rod. I also painted that silver, and I'm just going to kind of line this up, get a look at that, and the fit is nice. I think that's going to work out pretty great. So yeah, I'm pleased how this turned out. I think the back end looks great. And then the truck itself, I painted this with a green Krylon, and again, I did probably 3 or 4 coats, and it's one of these things that just turned out really nice. I'm pretty pleased. And so here's one of the little benefits of doing all the masking. It's like opening a Christmas present. You get to peel all that off. So the time and effort to mask this really paid off. Alright, so now let's glue on the tailgate here. Just did a little bead of super glue. That worked out pretty great. And the rods, they had a little bit of rust on them, so I went ahead and did a little sanding on there, oiled those up. And one of the back tires was missing, so I went ahead went online and found some new used inventory, and I'm just going to replace all 4 back tires. They are really nice and pristine, so thank you Arizona Diecast for those. And the back axle was bent a little bit, so I'm doing this really high-tech system that I have here. It's a concrete floor and a hammer, and that worked out all right. Slide these wheels on. The one end was kind of messed up already, so I did hammer that a little bit flat so the wheels will stick on. And then it's just a matter of putting these guys back on, and yeah, another high-tech tool here, just using a pair of wire snips to push those in, and then just clamp the little axle peg tight, and that looks great. Alright, so I'm putting the spring-loaded mechanism back in. I actually did take photographs of this so I could remember how to put this all together, so little note to yourself as you're taking things apart, don't hesitate to take pictures so you know how to put all this stuff back together. So I'm just feeding the little rod through that holds that, and moment of truth here, click that down and lift it up. Let's flip that around. Yeah, it works. Woo! That's always nice. All right, putting on the back tires there. You can see the 4 brand new tires. Again, just hammering it down, pushing those, clamping them down, and that looks great. So I think we're about ready to call this one good. This was a fun project.
Okay, that was a super fun build, and it's really fun to push yourself with new things that you've never done before. So again, I don't really want to get into restorations, but just to be able to do some research and figure out how to fix these things and build the little tailgate at the back, it was really fun. And the best part was giving it to him and watching his eyes just light up, and he couldn't believe how it turned out, and he was super excited and super grateful. And I mean, sometimes that's even worth more than money. So I know some people would disagree, but for me, I really wanted to do it for him, and happy that he was tickled as a clam. So as always, it's a great day to be a toy nerd. Go out and do something nice for somebody.